I'd like to welcome you to the Engineering Committee meeting. I call this meeting in order at 5 p.m. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. Both directors are present. And number 2, do we have any public comment?
Approval of the
You need
agenda.
to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Approval of the agenda.
A motion to approve the, oh, I'm sorry. You're supposed to ask if there's any changes. I'm
Is there
gonna
any
approve the agenda.
changes to the agenda?
No, there's no changes.
I motion to approve the agenda.
All right, I second. All right, now for public comment. Do we have any public comment?
We have one person online, Sharon Barnes. Do you have any public comment?
Peter Barnes.
Hi, it's Peter Barnes, and no, I
Is
did
he
not
enough?
comment.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Number 3, approval of the minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second. And then number 4, Site Logic IQ solar presentation, Mr. Barnes.
Yes, we have SiteLogic and we have Josh here, and he's going to walk us through this project. And company. Got a couple of people here.
And I just let you know when to move slides. Perfect. Good evening, directors, staff. I usually say community, but no one's here. Hopefully everyone's having a wonderful evening today. My name is Josh Stieber. I'm with SiteLogic, Government Relations. I also have part of my development team here. I got Keegan and Chris. We've been collaborating with staff for the past few months on a program of how do you scale more than what you already have. Where that comes is the renewable side. We've actually been working on, and I apologize on the name, I'm going to call it the dairy. I don't know if it's changed names, but our firm has been working there for the past few months, getting that system up and operating on where it should be. As we've been through this agency and also working within the region, we said, hey, we wanted to look at some of your utility bills, and when we saw what you're spending and the skyrocketing utility costs that's going on, plus with some of the mandates of achieving more renewables and where you're going to get there, we decided to look with staff on where else can we look. I have you can go to the next slide. I have a brief agenda for tonight, and feel free at any time interrupt me if you have any questions. I'm going to try to bring it, deliver this in an executive summary, but I also have staff here if you need more of a technical, if you have more of a technical question. Again, our agenda is brief. Thank you there. Our agenda is brief. I'm going to just introduce who SiteLogic is, if you are not fully aware of who we are, what the program objectives that we're looking to bring, what that kind of scope of work looks like across 4 different sites. We'll talk about some preliminary financials and then what that roadmap to implementation looks like. Any questions so far? Perfect. Next slide, please. I don't have to look at this. So who is SiteLogic? SiteLogic, we're a nationwide energy service company. We're about, 450 employees nationally, but our biggest business unit's here on the West Coast. We're headquartered out of Sacramento with also offices in Costa Mesa and Ontario. We work primarily with local governments from counties, municipalities, special districts, all the way down to through the K through 14 on the education sector side. I work primarily only with the county, cities, and municipalities, but the team here, it works with my counterpart and actually a few school districts up here in this region. We are also been platinum, I think, sponsors at the highest level, you can correct me if I'm wrong, with CSDA and have supported CSDA Finance Corporation on a lot of our projects. We've also been members with Aqua and Urban Water Institute and partners of SCAG as well within the region. We've been accredited all the way up to the Department of Energy. So again, we are a true energy service company, and our goal is find projects that follow through the state's contracting vehicles, which is Government Code 4217. And our goal has been looking at what your costs and utilities have been, how to reduce those, but also enhance some of the areas of the district. Next slide, please. So a few highlights from the program objectives that I want to touch on is just based off those 4 sites, we're looking at reducing the electric utility by 37% at just those 4 sites. But this project, when you have some of these mandates that Sacramento's passing down, asking the local governments to achieve more renewables, and then we can have a whole nother conversation on how to reinvent the wheel when it comes to electric vehicles. Our primary focus is, well, if we're having to achieve renewable side, can we actually bring a cash flow back to the district as well? So through this program term, we're looking at a little over 12.6 million that will be coming back to the district and total program savings. A few other areas that have been key is the awareness side, you know, achieving what Sacramento wants. Doesn't matter what maybe the federal administration might be changing, we know that this state's going to double down on that. And our primary goal as being taxpayers in other areas is find strategic ways to keep costs down. And right now the utilities are being no friends. Those costs keep skyrocketing year over year. How do you get control over it? Another unique about this program, and I think has been very successful and kind of shows our early stages of our partnership, has been the collaboration with your staff and my team. This isn't our project, this is your project, and we have been, our team has been out here with boots on the ground, identifying scopes, identifying what that scale can look like, and making sure that even staff would support this. And I think that's why we're here today. It's been some of these preliminary models and where could this overall program be heading. And lastly would be the seed money. Is what's the incentives that might make this project move the needle a little better. I know we're not the first Josh knocking on the door pushing solar, and I know we're not going to be the last, but we're trying to look at strategic ways and really stay on head of the curve to what really the district can benefit at the end of the day. And one of those main incentives is the Inflation Reduction Act. That's from the federal government. This was passed through the Biden administration, and as we're all aware, a couple weeks ago, the bill has passed, and there are some minor changes to the Inflation Reduction Act, with one of the big changes being a phase out. It will go away over the next few years, but why we're here today, and I'm going to throw the word urgency or timing as a critical, need for this project, is because we believe we're far along with staff. We've kind of thrown this on Edison's radar a little bit, what our normal process of going through public hearing, interacting, procurement, and putting a shovel in the ground, and what the federal administration is looking at for minimal requirements or safe harboring and things like that. We believe that this time, or this program could be completed and online with the utility way prior to that sunset or that phase out date. So with this program, what we're looking at just with those 4 sites, we're looking at the Treasury making an a direct payment of a little over $1.8 million back to the district. Any questions so far? Oh, and last, another great thing about the program is the community impact and showing the true leaders of this district, not only here with the community, but how do we scale that across the state. Being very involved with CSDA, I know we can go after Beacon Awards through ILG and other awards to showcase what the type of program this would be offering and how it benefits the district.
One quick question. As you go through your presentation, you'll break down how the funding is going to come through. Awesome.
I'm going to walk us through a whole pro forma. Keegan, you want to come up and talk about these next 4 sites? And we're going to kind of talk about what the scope and scale is for the 4 sites that we've identified, and I'll let you take it up.
So the 4 sites that we've identified, first one here is well 15, as well as well 2, well 9, which I know is also referred to as site 1C, and then site 1B being the operations yard. So The first three that we're going to show here are all what we call ground mount PV systems, so they're relatively low to the ground, whereas the operations yard, those would be shade structures, so those could provide other benefits beyond energy savings like shading equipment in vehicles and such. So this first one here, well 15, I know this is one of the district's newer sites, offsets about 50% of the load at the site. It's about a 240 kW system. And where we have the placement as of now, based on conversations with staff and the site walks, is just beyond the fence of operation there. So the ground that is beyond that fence would have to be leveled and made room for this solar. And it would be physically interconnected to the main service of the site, which is indicated by that red box there on the southern edge. Any questions on this first side at all? These next two, well 2 and well 9, are relatively similar size and configuration, so much smaller than well 15, about 108 kW, and only offsets in comparison to the other one a bit less. It's about 30% offset. Reason being, we're a little pressed for space there. It's obviously a much more constrained and smaller site. We have this organized in a way to where it shouldn't impede operations of the district as they're coming in and out. So we have to be mindful of that, as well as one thing in particular you'll notice here is that we want to be a certain clearance off of adjacent easements. Typically it's 10 feet. We like to do a little more if we can, just to have that buffer. And as you can see here, there's a little bit of, that's why the solar doesn't go all the way to the fence on the west or the north end there, or the east actually.
Are these fixed mount?
They are.
Okay.
We've seen single axis trackers at certain larger sites. We typically at SiteLogic just prefer to do fixed, fixed racking. You see a lot of energy losses with the actual single axis because there's actual energy that's needed to do the tracking versus when it's fixed in place, it just sits there and absorbs. So
Yeah, we have the tracking at the dairy, as you know, and
yeah,
not
yeah.
a great thing. Yeah.
Gotcha.
There's a question.
Mhm.
There's a question on Zoom. I don't know.
Sorry, I have a question.
Mhm.
How far away from, I can't really see how far away from the edge of the property the solar is.
Yeah, it's 10 or more feet typically is what we like to do. Keep in mind these are preliminary layouts. If and when we go forward with the LOA, these designs will be fine-tuned, they'll be value engineered, but we have it in a spot now to where the final product will ideally resemble something similar to this. But for this preliminary, what you're seeing here, it is about 10 feet or more from the property line.
Okay, so my only concern that I would express to the board is on the street side, I worry that 10 feet leaves it open to potential vandalism. That's all. Thank you.
And that is a good comment. We've talked with Sean briefly about this site as well as well 9 with some of the security concerns there. One of the measures that we talked about implementing alongside this is some sort of camera system to deter vandalism and hold those that vandalize accountable. A shiny new thing going up in the desert may attract eyes that you don't want it to attract. So we have considered safety and security in mind for this site as well as the site that we're going to show next year. So this is well 9 or site 1C, similar size to the one before. I think it's slightly larger, about 120 kW. Because we have a little more room to work with here, this has a bit more offset. It's about 69% of the offset of the load at the site. And I just want to add, when I say offset, that's the electrical offset specifically, not necessarily the cost offset. Those are obviously, as you would imagine, pretty closely aligned, but it's not always one-to-one. So that is energy offset specifically. So that 69% offset in energy correlates to about $22,000 in year one savings. And again, like I just mentioned for well 2, we would be considering safety and security measures at this site as well. Last but not least, the operations yard. we're looking at about 2 or 3 arrays here. And where these, as I mentioned earlier, where these would differ from the other 3 sites is these would be shade structures. So these would actually be, raised from the ground and provide shade to vehicles that are, housed at this site. There is California code in place for when you're doing carports over parking lots where you have to install EV chargers. However, it doesn't really look much like a parking lot to me. Just kind of looks like a dirt lot. So we do have some leeway there with kind of bypassing the EV mandate as a result of this. Now that I'm saying that, Sean, I remember you and I had the conversation before about the district being exempt for certain EV vehicle procurement. So that actually may align with the Cal Green Code here too. So kind of rambling here, but yeah, there's 2 or 3 arrays that would be going in here. Equates to about 23% offset of the site. And these can be, as high or as low as we want them to be. I think when we last spoke, we talked about them being 10 or 12 feet, and that would be on the lowest end. So these would be tilted slightly south. So on the southern end, it would be 10 to 12 feet, which means on the higher end, you're looking at about 14 to 16 feet. Any other questions on that side or any of the other 3?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. So now we're going to dive into the financials. I sent it as a additional PDF, but I don't know if it was in the printout.
23, page 23, is that the one you're looking at?
Sorry.
Pro forma?
Perfect. Yeah, it's that one. As they're pulling it up, I'll kind of walk through this. This is our pro forma. Again, this is a preliminary model. The goal out of today's meeting is, if we were to move forward, look at bringing this to the board or entering into a partner agreement so we can finalize the development of this program and still keep looking at tackling this program and having it live before that phase out of the Inflation Reduction Act. But I'm going to kind of start in the top middle. We're looking at a program implementation cost of roughly just under $4.4 million. We're seeing a district contribution of about $250,000 to make towards this program. Our finance partner, who is also one of the lead brokers for CSD Finance Corp, has put in some of these other direct costs, from district costs to lease transaction costs, and we've also looked at including capitalized interest on. We've ran a model with a debt service rate of 4.8%, and we've also used a utility escalation of 5%, and we've also included solar degradation. So as we walk through the columns, column 1 is going to be the years. We're seeing a cash flow back to the district throughout 30 years, but really the term of the program and the term of the payment of the debt service, if one to be taken on, we're looking at a term of just under 20 years. I think it's 19 years. So column 2 through column 5, or really 6, is your total program savings across the program itself. Column 2 is going to be your utility cost avoidance, and that's the renewables across all 4 sites. And you're looking at 30 years of a cash flow of a little over $11.5 million. Again, we wanted to include what the Inflation Reduction Act is. Here in a few months, we never know. Our state administration incentives and grants come and go weekly. So there could be additional incentives that could add value to this program. But we're seeing roughly a little over $1.8 million back from the Inflation Reduction Act. Now, column 5 is a negative. It's not actually included into our program. Those would be separate service agreements, and my suggestion to staff would be looking at doing our solar operation and maintenance at Solar O&M for not only this new solar, but even the dairy, since that system is up and running. But you're getting a new asset. Right now, you don't have a cost to taking care of that asset. We're not here just wanting to build it and walk away and cross our finger. You're going to get the life cycle costs you need out of the technology. And we don't expect staff to have to jump in, which they're very capable of, I know that, but have to, look at adding another item to their plate. And so we wanted to show what it would cost to include to maintaining those systems year after year once they're installed. And you'll notice in like a year 10 or a year 20, those costs are a lot more. Well, why? We're factoring inverter replacements are going to be needed. Different electrical components might be. So budgeting just under $900,000 to service and operate and maintain those 4 sites, we believe that's a great number. And what would that look like in this overall program? Now you're seeing column 6, which brings, a total program savings of roughly a little over $12.5 million over 30 years. So now any questions so far before I jump to the other side? Perfect. So now we look at taking on those debt services. What does that look like? And
Pause for a second.
yes.
I have a question online. Peter, go ahead with your question.
Thank you. Are these numbers in 2025 numbers, or is inflation included?
Yes.
Sorry, yes. They're in 2025 numbers?
Correct. Yes.
Thank you.
So the left column is if we paid for the project, which would be about little over $4.7 million. Is that basically either financed or cash?
Correct. Yeah, at the top part of it.
Okay.
And then you're seeing a total program savings of roughly over 12.5 million. So bringing in those debt services on a 20-year term, and these programs are happening throughout special districts across the state. So CSD, Finance Corp, and some of the big lenders like a Bank of America or Chase that would have interest in this, they understand your goal is on this type of program generating and savings. And how do you use that cash flow to help make those payments? So we usually, or these banks and your broker will work at structuring it to where you'll see 2 payments a year, but you'll see them at the 6-month mark and the last day of the year. Why? You're going to get 6 years of generation and savings, so you know you can make that payment. We've also incorporated, when you see the Inflation Reduction Act in year 2 from the Treasury, that would also be used towards the overall program. So after paying those debt services, you're looking at, for 20 years, you're looking at then a cumulative cash flow of a little over $6 million. Any questions so far?
Yeah, so that's 6 million. You would also want to take into account column 5, correct? Which is not shown on that one. So you still want to have a solar maintenance budget?
Correct,
Okay.
but column 6 has column 5 kind of incorporated into it.
Okay. But I mean, on the other side of the equation, on 7, 8, and 9.
Well, the solar maintenance is for the 4 sites. Really, column 7, 8, 9 is what all the total program savings and costs are.
Okay.
Now looking at including debt services and how that looks after paying the debt services off. Really, what's the cash flow back to the district? And that's a little over $6 million. So state mandate, unfunded. We kind of made it a little more strategic and worked with staff on how do we do this, but also bring money back to the district. Any questions? All right, we're going to jump back to the presentation. And I just have one more slide.
Peter, go ahead with your question.
I'm Thank you. I am curious about the IRA column and how sure we are on that funding and what it would look like if for some reason that money from the federal government did not come through.
Great question. So they just passed the bill. They set provisions and a sunset in there. So as long as we start construction within 12 months from the date of signing, which was July 3rd, July 4th, and then we have 1 year to start construction, which from safe harboring and a couple other things, we can get that. And then we need to have the system live with the utility by the end of 2027. Being just for solar sites, most of them are ground mount. We're not really dealing with a lead on steel, but they're going to be fabricated for exactly the dimensions you're needing at your site. But we believe this program could be, there's not a battery, there's not a microinverter. We're not having to work on newer things with the utility that maybe one or two people at Edison might know. This is a standard program that the utility knows. This is just commercial scale through the municipal side, but not a commercial utility scale. So hopefully that answered your question, but we believe that this district and many other agencies that are probably right where you're at, where we're having these meetings a week or two ago, and we're having them in the next couple weeks. We are very confident, plus CSD Finance Corp, the broker, is confident as well. We let him clear the numbers before we came and presented those. So what does the pathway to implementation looks like? We're here today. We were here back in May with staff, meeting with them, going over the rest, the overall program and changing any last revisions per their requests. So we hope you're excited about this type of a program. Maybe not excited on the unfounded mandate side of things, but should be excited about the cash flow that could come from this. Couple requests from here, and it all depends on direction the committee wants to go. One request would be, love to take this back to your counterparts and come back to the board and present really an education session and what that next step could be. Or if the committee says, hey, before we take this to the board, we understand this is preliminary. We'd love to have you finalize your numbers, which would take us about 60 days. We can proceed moving forward with action of our letter of agreement, which is also in your agenda item. You don't have to switch the screen, but it's a few pages in your agenda packet that really is not binding, but it's showing your commitment that, hey, this is a great project. We need to address more. This could be a good savings back to the district. There's no upfront money right now. There is a breakage fee in that partner agreement, but it's really more for the engineering costs to finalize this program. And but if we come back and either utility says no, absolutely no way, or even the IRA changes here in these next couple weeks, even though we know it can't because of the bill being passed, we want to make sure that this program meets the economic criteria for the district. And being using Government Code 4217 as the procurement vehicle for this program, we just can't come throw anything we want or the district wants. We have to be compliant with that, which at little we would have to have you at least cash neutrality through the term of the agreement. So really, we know under the preliminary number there was one red column or one line in your cash flow, but we believe with your finance partners or our financial partners that this will cash flow year over year through the term of the program. And then from there, we come back, like I said, in 60 days. If would start with staff, make sure we're dialed in, come back to the committee, and then look for the committee's recommendation to set a public hearing back to the board, which would be a few weeks after this meeting, and it would be at a regular session, so it would probably be the following months. And then we move forward with a groundbreaking ceremony and implementation of the program. So that concludes my speech. I hope I didn't bore you today or confuse you at all. But please let us know if you have any questions or ways of what's the next direction.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a couple quick questions. Sean, what is the 5% escalation? What have you seen over the past 5 to 10 years as far as that? Is that a reasonable escalation for the electrical?
That's very reasonable. We see anywhere from 2 to 9%. We've seen 17% one year. So I think 5%, you're being very conservative and you're being very fair.
Thank you. And if you don't mind, I'd love Keegan to add on to it. Currently, the district has a RESPEC program, a net metering program, and I want you to just kind of touch on how this can align with that.
Yeah, so based on conversations that we've had in the meetings, I think they were about a month or two ago now, we talked about the existing RESBEC program that the district is under. This would not impede the RESBEC program such that the amount of money that the district is benefiting from the RESBEC is tied to the consumption, the actual consumption at all of the district sites that are on that RESBEC program. The 3 or 4 sites that we're implementing site-specific solar here would be taken off of the RESBEC program, and you have to do that in order to install, site-specific solar. But there is enough money that the district is benefiting from RESBEC to reallocate to the remaining sites. So I think there's about 50 or so sites that are on the RESBEC program. So this may not be the exact numbers, but let's say it goes from 50 sites to now it's 46 sites because those other 4 sites have been taken off. There's still enough RESBEC money that the district benefits from to reallocate from those 50 to those 46 sites.
Let me translate for you. So the solar project that we have right now feeds, basically offsets about 50 accounts, and we can adjust where the money goes. With this one, those 4 sites would be taken out of that. The solar that we have right now would be distributed among the other sites for the existing program we have, and this would be, I believe, a direct offset for the electrical at each one of these sites. So, if you weren't here for the year we spent going over the solar with the RESBCT program.
Yeah,
And
so
then-
I guess, thank you, Don. Long story short, this prospective project would not interfere with the existing RESBEC program.
If interest rates drop, obviously we would have a lower interest rate if we were to finance this. What would those numbers? Could you run? If it went down, even if it went down to 3% or something like that, which I don't know if it's going to happen, but they're talking about dropping big time. Not sure if that's going to happen or not, but there's that potential too.
And I would highly advise maybe we have Jeff Land come in one of these meetings or the next meeting. Maybe I can even see if he's available for the next board meeting. He could just chime in with us. It's with Pleasant Valley Rec and Park District. It was at that high time, and that's where it dropped real fast and then came back up. We got them at the lower end. We're seeing for these types of programs that are under $10 million, 4.4 to 4.7 is going to be your average if they keep going down.
Okay, so that's better than what we've paid in the past.
Correct. But this would be financed under a tax exempt municipal lease, so they are lower interest loans. So at the end of the day, your P&I will always be lower year over year than your generation and savings from the solar. Hence why you can make that payment in the 6 months and the end of the year.
All right, thank you. Do you have any questions, Rebecca?
Peter does.
We have a question from Peter. Go ahead, Peter.
Thank you. I actually have 2 questions. One, I just wanted to make sure that I'm clear on the details. So this would be approximately a $4.5 million loan with a $250,000 down payment from the district. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. That was one question. The second question is about the offset. So I'm just, when we say offset, I assume then that means this solar is grid tied. Can the solar actually power the wells, or is the solar just sending power back to Edison?
The solar is, it's site-specific solar, so it is offsetting the consumption at these sites. So yes, the wells. It isn't just sending it out to the grid and then the district gets credit for that energy. It's directly offsetting the energy consumed at the sites.
Okay, so obviously, we're not doing batteries, right? So it's just sort of a daytime offset, so it's gonna be a higher offset during the day and then none at night. Is that basically the idea?
Yes.
Essentially, yeah, and that's why, so these, the simulations that we've done these on, the percentages that were showed on the PowerPoint, those are based on the 15-minute interval data that we have for all of these sites. So this is not just us shooting in the dark and saying, oh, this size should probably be this amount of offset. This is actually tied to real life data usage at these sites. And because of, exactly what you just said, there's no offset at night because the sun's not shining at night. That's why we like to have offsets, on the lower end of, over 50% is ideal, especially if there's consumption at the site that's taking place more so in the day than at nighttime. But, whether the site is, a well at a special district or a school or an office building, we don't like to have 100% offset because you're sending a lot of energy back to the grid. We like to try to stay above 50 if we can, and we typically like to stay below about 75. So none of the 4 that I showed there exceed 75. Some of them are far lower, but yeah, more or less it's tied to the exact energy consumption and energy use profile at all of these sites. So that's been considered here.
This system
So
also does not address redundancy. So in the event of a power outage, they do have phase sinks. This wouldn't act as a stand-in generator.
Yes.
It would not act as a
That is
standing
correct. It
generator.
will not act as a stand-in generator. They have phase sinks. So if power goes out,
Okay.
solar
That
stops
was my other
working.
question. All right, thank you.
Right now, my biggest concern is with the service agreement for the O&M after all of the fun that we had with the last set of solar panels. So could you ease my mind on that one?
Yeah, I can give you a little feedback. SiteLogic is the company we brought in to fix it.
Okay,
We had issues with SunPower and their
Right.
spin-offs that they threw out there before. And SiteLogic has been working at, how long we've been working on, 6 months on that project now? So they're doing actually the O&M on the big project we have.
okay, that's good. Because I work for Snowline. I don't know if you've seen their covered parking panels, but it's a
We've seen every
mess.
school district.
It's a mess. And, I don't want to see that.
There's a theme with the formerly named provider across SoCal.
Copy that.
Yeah, and you're not a school district here, so you're challenged to do more with less. So we wanted to make sure you're being sized for what you really need. Why have a bigger size when, Edison's gonna pay you pennies for what it's costing to generate plus build that system. So we've only sized it for what your consumption and those needs are. And, there's more to come in this realm, but we believe this is enough more renewables to kind of keep Sacramento, thank you, district, you're achieving our goals.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, no, I appreciate the presentation. I understand the solar and all the work that went into developing these numbers. But on the housekeeping side, on the procurement process, the contracts, all that stuff, I'd like to see all that stuff up front, talked about, ironed out, and then talk about bringing it back, staff's recommendation to bring it back and what they want to do with that. This is one company that offers that. I know there's procurement requirements, us being a public agency, on how we, procure goods and services. So I'd like to just see all that information. But thank you very much.
Yeah, we can, I don't know how much I've sent Don and George regarding the government code 4217, but we can get that. And we have been compliant all the way up to leading up to this and
Sure.
still are, that the district could contract with us as long as we have you at least cash neutrality year over year.
And we can have Wes obviously
Yeah,
review that
that's
too.
all.
Yep.
Yeah.
We could do that.
Okay, I'll send you a thing first thing in the morning if I haven't already.
Okay.
So
I have no further questions. Thank you very much.
thank you for your time tonight. Appreciate it. And he's more technical, that's why we kept him sitting. Oh, thank you.
Thanks for coming up.
Thank you, appreciate it. We'll talk tomorrow. I'm gonna
Okay.
still one for the road. And if you don't mind, I'm gonna use your rush.
On to item number 5. It'd be OSD Recharge Study Project.
Sean, I don't think we have much to update on this one.
No updates for item 5 this evening.
All right, thank you. Item 6, discussion regarding the water system.
No updates, no.
Sorry.
All right.
It's all, no, just kidding.
So some positives. We're doing a comprehensive energy analysis as part of our partnership with SoCal REN, trying to identify areas where we can be more efficient, how we can be more efficient, and what those savings are realized to the district. And that kind of segues after that presentation SiteLogic was kind enough to give us. We did notice we had signed up well 15, of course, when it came online for an institutional rate. They had put us down on the wrong rate. We've since clarified that. We have a $32,000 credit. They're reviewing and getting director approval. There's potentially somewhere in the neighborhood of about $50,000 more that should be coming to the district in clarifying that account. Our production's up a little bit. We are seeing a lot more system demand here in the last week or two. Last month in June, we saw about a 3% increase over 2024. Some of the good news highlights are we are seeing a reduction in service line leaks, and that's really a testament to the service line replacement program. If we look on page 26, huge shout out to these guys. We already have 106 calendar year to date, but it's really that fiscal total, 245 services. And that's really where we're seeing that reduction in leaks. We sold 34 meters this year, and these guys are replacing anywhere from 25, 30, 40, 50 services a month. So kudos to our field crews for that. Our well 14 production, thank goodness, pretty much non-existent. There's a little bit, a 0.29 acre foot, that's just for sampling. At a cost of $1,224 an acre foot. We're able to really not have those replacement water costs for well 14 right now. Booster B, Site 4B, a complete overhaul and rehab was completed. Our crews replaced an entire PRV at Smoke Tree in Trinidad, so everything's brand new. The 2-inch bypass literally broke off as we were shutting it down. It was in that kind of condition. So well 16's lot's been scrubbed. I don't know if anybody's been to the fill station lately. Fences up around it. Our crews have crossed Sheep Creek and brought water on in. So we'll have construction water when we begin to drill. Our conductor casing is tentatively scheduled to be installed August 4th. So should be drilling a week or two after that. So here we are early August. We're ahead of schedule. Drill's going to be in the ground. Again, it is to meet that October 1st, 27 deadline. That's a hard deadline. Although in their templating, the state has always, when we looked at this MCL mandate, this was a hard date. But in their compliance plan template, they've softened that stance a little bit. So just something we happen to notice. Well 18, we will be bringing before the board the CEQA documents for consideration and hopefully adoption August 13th, which means the biologists can get to work that next morning, which means we can get to work that afternoon. We'd really like to get that lot scrubbed, get the fence up, and we have pipeline materials on order to bring water into that site, so again, we can drill to meet our deadlines. Our 4th consecutive quarter hexavalent chromium sampled was completed. We're awaiting those results. So just real quick on this, when we receive those results, that is going to trigger a compliance plan, not a compliance order, not a violation. We still are in compliance. We will have to submit a plan on how we will achieve compliance by October 1st, 2027. That plan is about 95% done. I just need the dates from, we didn't get them today, should be coming in any day. We'll submit the plan, but it's everything we've discussed on that last chromium presentation on how we're going to get to compliance. We successfully sampled the 3rd quarter PFOS, PFOA. I'm happy to report, and I want to reiterate this, office, field, anybody that will listen, we do not have PFOS or PFOA. There was one sample, I don't know if we caught a wind just right, but it was the background noise sample, so the travel blank. That means the air in the atmosphere when he took the water sample actually had PFOS there. From what? I don't know. But our water still, again, had 0. So Next week is scheduled our fourth quarter. We will be done with PFAS and PFOA. We did bring in some divers to the Smith and Springs Reservoir. Those are a couple of tanks that are below ground. I wouldn't have to tell Director Snyder. We all love below ground reservoirs, as nothing ever goes wrong there. But we did bring in some divers, got those nice and clean. We're keeping an eye on the lining. There's a couple ripples, but that's not uncommon for its kind of materials.
Those ones are actually physically lined.
They're physically lined. We saw a little uptick in our valves turned. We did have a valve turning program. It's on pause until I can fill a position, and we'll resume that. But we'd really like to see those numbers bumped up. And then our fill station statistics are there on the page 27. Since we've even ran the report, if we don't hit it today, it'll be tomorrow, $70,000 in revenue generated by the fill station. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
I don't have any questions. Thank you for the presentation. All right, with that being complete, we'll go to item number 7, state regulations update.
Other than that compliance plan being submitted, we are eyeballing, is it SB 90?
Yeah, there's just that. That is on the floor right now. SB 90 may allow us to have opportunities to seek grant funding for our Hella tank project, is what we're hoping.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Item number 8, review of current projects.
So we touched on where we're at on well number 16. Again, conductor casing going in here in a couple weeks. SEQ will be brought to the board for consideration August 13th. Tank 6A, I believe we're finishing NEPA.
Yeah, publication is next week for environmental.
So moving forward on all three.
All right, thank you. Number 9, staff reports. No staff reports? All right, number 10, review of action items. Prior meeting action items?
We had none.
All right, does anybody have any current action items?
Were we going to bring this to the board or after you guys review more stuff?
Yeah, let's see if we can get, I can report back to you if I think it's ready to go to the board, if we can
Sure.
talk to Wes and
Okay,
make sure we're okay with that. If we're okay with doing the project the way that it's being proposed, then we can take it to the board for consideration, and then those are some of the details that would come out
yeah.
before we'd sign contracts.
Good. Yeah,
Maybe
I'm
we
good with
circle
that.
back to number 9 for a minute.
Okay, circle back to number 9.
I would just like to thank our staff for their hard work. In 10 summers here at the district, this is the best summer, and we're even seeing consumption tick up. But the distribution system, thanks to all their hard work, is leaps and bounds ahead of where we were even 2 and 3 years ago. And that's a testament to everybody's hard work. So a big thank you pretty much across the board.
Yep, it's never been like that from day one, ever.
No, it just goes to show you what investment in capital and operations and maintenance will do for your system. The money spent up front will save you in the long run.
And I know there's some trepidation. Well 15, that it's been online, has operationally and fundamentally changed the way we operate on a daily. 16 and 18 is going to continue to add to that redundancy and diversify our electrical portfolio because they're going to be on a couple of different circuits than our other producers. So again, we just keep building redundancy to better serve the community.
All right, thank you. Item number 11, set the agenda for next meeting, which is August 20th, 2025.
Yes.
Yes. And then I do have a question with agenda set and dates. On these Wednesdays, I'm seeing a conflict that I have through work on MAC committee meetings with another.
Are you in Spring Valley Lake tonight?
Yeah. So, but I've done my due diligence and I don't have to go to those meetings. I send the report, but there will be times I do have to go. And so if there's any way we can look at future dates, changing the day of the engineering committee meeting, if possible.
Did you have suggestion?
No, but I can get back with you.
Okay.
All right. I just wanted to bring that up and we can talk about that. All right, being the agenda set, the next is 12, adjournment. We'll adjourn this meeting at 5:50 PM.